Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Governor Macklem, for being here and for all your patience. I'm going to be asking you a question around the comments you made about the fact that core inflation has proven to be quite stubborn. I'm going to then talk about whether this maybe some of the underlying structural issues, and then tie it to something we're hearing on housing. One of the things I've been just grappling with when I go and talk to Davenport residents, they'll say to me, Julie, everything's so high. And I'll say to them, well, we've put in a national childcare program. We are putting in aggressive climate action, but we're providing the climate incentive. We've got the Canada Child Benefit. We've got the old age security increase. We've lowered taxes several years ago. We've put in an extraordinary amount of support for our middle and our working class. And I haven't mentioned the Canada Worker Benefit, but we've increased that a number of times. And they're all geared to inflation. So you would almost think that they should be okay. We know that the food prices have gone up more than inflation. We know that energy prices have gone up and now come back down again. And then we've been talking about housing. And I guess my question to you is, one of the other things we're hearing about in our housing study is that there are issues, so say at the provincial level in Ontario, if someone moves out of their apartment, the average vacancy rate increase that goes in is around 29%. And so I guess my question to you is, would that be an example of a structural issue that would cause our core inflation rate to continue to be stubborn? And that would be a structural issue at the provincial level that needs to be corrected.
I think there's a couple parts to your question, MP Dershowitz. I guess I would start by saying, we talked earlier about the structural shortage of supply in housing. I think that's probably the number one thing that's contributing to keeping shelter generally and rent in particularly high. I think the situation you described, though, is when
rental it's rent control for vacancies.
Yeah.
It's rent control for vacancies.
Yeah.
So if that's not an effect, would that be a structural issue?
Well, to the extent that there is more demand for rental properties than there is supply, that's contributing to the increase in prices. I think what you're describing there, though, that significant increase where there is rent control, the opportunity that the landlord has to increase rent comes when an apartment turns over, when a rental property turns over. So you often see a bit of a catch-up or a big jump in the price. But again, the solution to that is to increase supply.
I would say it is to increase supply, but I'd also say that in a number of other provinces there are rent controls, and I do think that helps to keep rent for increasing to around 3% or 4% or even 5%, but not to 29%, which is the average of what you're seeing in terms of vacancy of what we are hearing at Housing Committee. Can you comment, Governor, on the fiscal positions of the provinces and territories relative to the federal government?
No, I'm not going to comment on the fiscal positions of every province.
No, that's okay. That's no problem. I just thought that you might have a response on that. My next question is around shelter price inflation. On page 21 of your monetary policy report, you indicated that shelter price inflation is expected to slow down from its current pace. Can you talk to the how and why you believe this?
So I'm just looking for the part you mentioned. So, what we indicated in the monetary policy report is that, given that the issue is largely supply and this problem has been building up for at least a decade, it's not going. We're very pleased to see the, all levels of government working with industry to tackle this problem, but even in the best case scenario, it's not going to get solved quickly. So, we're going to have to. We definitely need to work. Governments need to work on solving it. But it's going to be a pressure we're going to have to live with some time. I think what we did say is that, that's one of the things that's standing in the way of getting inflation down, and that's slowing the decline in inflation. But when you look at everything else, we can see clear evidence that higher interest rates are cooling inflation, and as has come out in previous questions, there are lags in the effects of monetary policy, and as people renew their mortgages, these higher interest rates feed through the economy. We think there's more in the pipeline, and so that ultimately will bring inflation down, even if it's taking a little bit longer than we'd hoped.
And you're saying that will ultimately reduce the shelter price inflation as well, just to finish the...
No, I mean, we don't try to control the prices of every different piece. No, it's bringing overall inflation down. Just to be clear, I just don't understand your comment around shelter price inflation is expected to slow.
I think the members should.
I think what we said was that shelter price inflation is likely to make a larger contribution to overall inflation for some time until that supply issue gets resolved, or at least
okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you, MP Zarowitz, and now to MP Summers.